COVID-19 will impact all of our children. It is very important they get a vaccine which will spare them from major health issues.
Hello, and welcome to A Shot of Faith, the webinar.
It is so important to vaccinate your children, and I can't wait to vaccinate my child who will be turning 5 in May, because not only for his health, but for the health of others around him.
Question of the evening: are the COVID-19 vaccinations or vaccines safe for kids? Tonight, we want to dig in just a little bit deeper into the issues of both youth vaccines and also the mental health issues that our youth and our children face.
The reason why I feel like our children should be vaccinated from COVID-19 is that it really starts with them.
This is what I love you. Beautiful people. My name is Major. That's the name my mama gave me.
I am Dr. Donna White-Carey. I'm a pediatrician.
I am a licensed psychotherapist here in the state of California.
So hot off the press, right? The FDA just approved vaccines from both Pfizer and Moderna.
I'm grateful that, LA Focus took the time to make sure we had medical experts on the line to really hear from.
COVID-19 is real. It is important that we get our kids vaccinated.
And it's all.
Hello, everyone. We are so glad that you are tuning in for another Shot of Faith, hosted, of course, by LA Focus and our dear friend and leader, Lisa Collins. And this is presented by California Department of Public Health and Vaccinated All 58. Listen, before I go another further, I want to encourage every single person that is logging in. You are seeing this, you so happen to be scrolling and you're saying, what is Pastor Fisher doing on this? I want you guys to say what's up. I want you to say hello in the comment sections. Say what's good, however it is that you greet in the cyber room. I need to feel that presence of yours. I also want you to share this. I want you to like it. And I want you to tag some other people that you feel can benefit from the information we are going to share on tonight. I am so excited. I'm elated to be a part of this. And I can't wait to get some information out there to the audience. I mean, we got Michelle Moore-Bell, who's already saying greetings from Los Angeles. Yeah, tell me where you're from. LA, what part of the country you from? What's going on, Jacqueline? How are you, my dear friend? Okay, so we're feeling that. We're feeling the energy, right? We're feeling y'all in the cyber room, okay? This is going to be a great evening. Erica Sims, so I'm a person that's going to shout you out for sure. So definitely make sure you say hello. And please, here's the main thing before I go any further. You need to share this to your page. Please share this to your page. I'm so excited about who I'm co-hosting with. I'm humbled to be able to do this. WENDY RAQUEL Robinson is a 3-time NAACP Image Award nominated actress and philanthropist, best known for her roles as high school principal Regina Greer. We all know that on the hit comedy sitcom. Me and my mama watch this all the time, The Steve Harvey Show, and most recently as sports agent Tasha Mack on the comedy drama The Game, who I couldn't wait to see this show as well. Miss Robinson is a cum laude graduate of Howard University of the School of Fine Arts and received her BFA in drama. Throughout her career, she has appeared in several TV series, movies, and plays. She has used her passion for acting and is constantly giving back to her community. She is also the founder and artistic director of the Amazing Grace Conservatory, a theater arts school based in Los Angeles, and has worked directly with children for more than 25 years and has advocated for youth vaccines throughout the entire pandemic. Well, everyone, please put your cyber hands together and welcome to the stage, Miss WENDY RAQUEL Robinson. Oh, I'm blown right now.
Not you and your mama used to watch the
Listen.
show. I love it. Thank you. I am so humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much, Pastor. Can I call you Michael or is it Pastor?
Yeah, you can call me Michael. I'm gonna call you Wendy. What's
Okay,
up?
cool. Okay, cool. We got that out of the way. I am so excited to be here with everyone today. Thank you so much, Lisa Collins and LA Focus, for having such an incredible platform for us to have this discussion, to keep it collaborative, because that's what it's going to be tonight. It's going to be collaborative. We want you to open up all of your questions. It doesn't matter what platform you're on, whether you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook. Open it up so that we can ask the doctors the questions, because I only play a doctor on TV. Amen. So we want to make sure that exactly all of your questions are heard and answered tonight, because we are dealing with a very serious topic. So just really, really excited to be here. So, you know what, Pastor, you gave me such an amazing introduction. Tell us about yourself. Other than that piano, I'm scoping out that piano in the background. I'm like, I need to come over here and play some keys.
We play a little, just a little. All right, just a little. No, but I'm Pastor Michael J. Fisher, and I pastor Greater Zion Church family in the beautiful city of Compton, California.
Yes.
We pastor over 3,000 families. And you know what? We have so many people that are here that are interested in this topic. We're in the community. I too am a philanthropist. I do a lot with social justice. I team up and work with the sheriff's department to make sure that there is conversation between the community and law enforcement. I am the founder and CEO of the JTCDC, where we create a bridge between the youth and the colleges of their choice. And because of that, we have, for the 4th year out of 100 youth that go to our church, 0 dropout rate, and every single one of them have gone to 4-year universities, and every single one of them have graduated, and they're now going on to their masters. And now I'm also the founder and CEO of the Fisher brand, where I'm helping individuals take their dream and turn it to reality and brand it so that people will come and support what it is that God has placed in their heart. And then I'm a child of God.
Yes, now that deserves a round of several applauses. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your work that you're doing. The Fisher brand. I like that.
Yeah, the Fisher brand. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be here with you, Wendy, for sure. But you know, we're not in this alone. We're not here by ourselves.
Yeah, you got 3,000 people in your congregation. So let's get to it.
we're a trifecta, right? We are a trifecta of knowledge. You know, we're representing the Trinity. And so we have Dr. Miller that is here with us, as well as we bring her to the stage. Dr. Jennifer Miller. She is a pediatrician. This is her first time being a part of this, but guess what? You are already family. We know that you love the kids, right?
Yeah.
And so really, real quick, Dr. Miller, I'm always proud as a Black man to see a Black woman that's sitting in these seats of power and position and prestige. Dr. Miller, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here with you both. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here to talk about COVID-19 vaccine. I am from Southern California, so not too far away from Compton. I'm from Los Angeles, although I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a pediatrician at East Bay Pediatrics. I trained at Children's Hospital Oakland. And like you said, I love the children. I'm so glad to do what I do. I love taking care of kids every day. I've worked in school-based health centers. I've worked in the neonatal intensive care unit at Children's. So I love really 0 to 22, 23. We have trouble getting rid of our patients when they graduate from college. That's when we stop seeing them. So I love the children, big and small. And I'm really happy to be here to answer questions and to encourage people to get the COVID vaccine for their infants and their children, because it is mission critical.
Fantastic. I just have to say this. My first pediatrician was African-American, and the impact it had on me and my health, and to make sure that I stayed with it. So it's so good. It feels so good to see you, to really see you, and to feel you. And I cannot wait to get into these questions. Are we ready?
We're ready. Thank you.
We are ready. Oh, she don't put the glasses on. She don't put the glasses on.
Put the glasses on. I don't want to get any of these questions messed up. All right. So we're going to start with our first question. And we're going to toss it to you, Doctor, for all of the talking points and all of that. So
absolutely.
Are you going to ask the first question or am I?
No, I think you're going to ask a
sir,
question, or one of you.
it's on you, Miss Wendy. Ladies
It's on
first.
me?
I was
Okay, I'm
raised right.
ready for the questions. Okay. All right. And remember to tell us where you are from so that we can shout you out as well.
That's
All
right. So while
right.
she's getting the question, I just want to encourage everybody, make sure if you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're texting people, you let them know to be a part of this powerful conversation. This is necessary, y'all. This is big, and we perish because of the lack of knowledge. So that's what this is all about. And I also want to add this one last thing too, before she fires this
Please.
question. My mother, who passed away a year ago, she was a nurse. She was a registered nurse. So, listen, I was blessed because you come up with a Black mama that was a nurse. What you saying? What you saying to me?
Okay, you ain't ready for this, Pastor Fisher. My mother was a registered nurse for 36 years at King Hospital.
Let's log off. Let's log off
and
now.
my father was a physician at King Hospital for 30 plus years as well. So King,
so
the way to go,
really
Compton.
Gonna jump to it. We're gonna jump to it. Now, don't laugh at me, but we're gonna jump to it, and I'm looking for the questions. I got on the glasses, so I know I can see everything. Here we go. First question.
Boom.
Okay, here's the question. Now, why should I vaccinate my child if cases are low and children aren't severely impacted by COVID-19?
So, excuse me, I would say that it is essential to vaccinate our children because we are protecting our communities. We're protecting our families and we're protecting our communities. If our children get vaccinated, then their parents are going to be protected. They don't have to miss work, and the grandparents are going to be protected. You don't have to worry about them for their chronic illnesses. In addition, we don't know for sure how severe of a case that these children are going to get. We know that the children are healthy, but that doesn't mean that COVID will be mild for them. Some children get a mild infection. Many other children get more severe infections. And by getting the vaccine, you are preventing complications. We're preventing long-term complications. We're preventing hospitalizations, and we're preventing death. So it's essential to vaccinate these infants and these children because we're preventing long-term complications, hospitalizations, and death.
Wonderful. Now, moving on, if my child has already had COVID, should I be vaccinating?
Absolutely. If your child has had COVID, they get some immunity from having the active disease, but they also get what's called hybrid immunity, which is almost like superpower because they get the immunity from having the disease and they get the immunity from the vaccine. So it's actually the best kind of immunity around. So just because your children have had the disease does not mean that they should not be vaccinated. We should absolutely vaccinate all of our children, whether they've had the COVID virus or not.
Wow. Well, I have a 4-year-old. He just turned 4 years old the other day. So this subject is right on time for myself. And, being a parent, you come up and there's all these myths, you do your best to protect your children. So one of the things that I've heard, and I don't even know if this is on the sheet of paper, but I'm going to ask it, then I'm going to get back to the script. I'm a preacher. You can't trust us.
All right, go. Let's go left. Go left.
Let's go.
My daddy say from the hot plate. No, but no, real quick, doctor, a lot of people, they don't get the vaccine or they don't want to get the vaccine for their children because there's a conception that says, well, as a child, their immune system is way better than ours anyway. Can you speak to that? Like, there are people who have an idea that my child already comes here with super immune system because I'm breastfeeding or I'm feeding them, I'm keeping them home. Can you talk to us about how children at the age of 4, 5, and 6 are still very susceptible to catching COVID-19? So we'll start with that question. Then I'll go to the next one for me.
They're definitely susceptible. First, happy belated birthday to your 4-year-old. But they're definitely susceptible. We know that kids in the United States are getting COVID. We know that they're being hospitalized in COVID. And when they're not vaccinated, they're more likely to end up in the hospital and more likely to end up in the intensive care unit. So when we saw with Omicron and the spread of Omicron, many more children were hospitalized and many more children were in the ICU because they were unvaccinated. So even though they're little and we know that we're breastfeeding them and we know that we're trying to keep them healthy, they are still susceptible to serious infection, to ending up in the hospital, to ending up in the ICU, and, God forbid, to die. We know that over 1,500 children in the United States have died from COVID. So it is not benign at all.
Wow. Right. And so when you talk about them ending up, in the ICU, what are some of the effects of COVID-19 amongst the children, even long term, like the long haul COVID? Does that exist even amongst the kids as well? Because there's another theory that says, well, kids would just bounce back,
Right, exactly.
All right. It's just a little allergy. What do we say? It's just little allergies. Everything's just a little allergies.
Right.
Just give
them some Robitussin. That's the rumor. It's like, just give them some Robitussin. They'll be fine, honey. Give them a Tylenol.
Some apple cider vinegar. They'll be all right. But real quick, Dr.
If only.
So talk to us a little bit, like what are some of the long-term effects that these kids end up dealing with because they contracted COVID? And even what are some of the effects on their bodies while they're struggling with COVID?
Yes.
Sure. Well, so this is still a moving target. We're still learning a lot about COVID as we continue to see infections happen. I would say the most serious thing we're seeing is something called multi-system inflammatory syndrome. And that's a syndrome that affects many of the organ systems, the eyes, the heart, the kidneys, and it tends to cause long-term complications, the skin. So these kids end up in the hospital and they're there for a long time, and they can have multi-system organ failure, which is obviously very dangerous. We do see long COVID in kids, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing it with athletes. So a lot of times when we have these teenagers that are athletes that get COVID, we worry about any impact on their heart. So often they have to be followed by cardiology, and we're sort of slow to allow them to get back into their sports. So there are definitely long-term effects as well. And then the more mild symptoms are things like fever and body aches, the things that most of us experienced as adults, if you had COVID.
Wow. I throw it back to you, Miss Wendy. Wow.
Yeah. And I know we're talking about infants, but, I do work with children at Amazing Grace Conservatory, and we just started our summer program, which is Monday through Friday. And Tuesday, we test the kids twice a week. And immediately it was case after case after case. Do you see an uptick? Because we didn't even have that many cases that were brought to our attention. I want to say like February through May. And now I'm seeing this huge uptick that's really got me concerned. Do you see that?
Yes, we're definitely seeing that it is spreading like wildfire. And so we're hoping that encouraging families to get their children vaccinated, to getting their kids and their infants vaccinated, that we'll be able to stem this tide of this spread. But it is spreading everywhere. Which concerns me for the winter, because it's summer and we're outside and there shouldn't be as much spread, but there really is. So definitely I'm concerned about it, and I think families should be as well, which hopefully will encourage people to get vaccinated.
Wow. And I just want to encourage everyone that is watching, please, please, please ask your questions. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to get whatever anxiety you might have, or any questions or anything that's on your heart. Just get it off your heart and ask. Information is key, and it is vital, and it is life-saving. So please take advantage of this. And I want to thank the doctor again for all of her amazing resources and answers. Now, should I consider giving my child, this is one of the questions, why should I consider giving the vaccine to my child who is younger than 5? I know you kind of answered that in the broad of it all, but
the younger than 5 is why. The younger than 5 is the newest group. So, as most people know, the emergency use authorization just came through for age 6 months all the way up through 5. So we're really excited to be able to vaccinate our youngest patients, our babies. I think it helps families be able to live a little bit more open life. They can feel more comfortable about leaving with their child. So many of my patients were afraid to go anywhere because their kids weren't vaccinated. They stayed in the house and they didn't see people, and they really were afraid to move around. And so I know that vaccinating our youngest members allows families to go be with other family members, to see each other more, to go back to work, to send their kids to preschool or daycare without as much worry that their kids are going to get COVID and be really sick. So I think it should give families a sense of relief, because now we can protect our youngest members of society, which is important.
Absolutely.
So let's ask this question as well. So when we start talking about the vaccine, a lot of the reluctancy also are two things, right? One, unfortunately, the big debacle that happened with Johnson & Johnson, right? And then the second thing was people actually got the vaccine and they said they had symptoms, they were sick, or they had side effects. What can you say to kind of reassure a parent about, are there side effects when the kids take the vaccine? Have they improved the medicines before they got down to the children?
Wow.
I mean, those are good questions. Dr. Mel, I love you so much, but I know for a fact that that's like one of the major ones. Like, they're like, well, I don't want to shoot nothing in my baby, and I'm the reason why my baby is sick. Oh Lord, so like, can you speak to that to kind of calm their nerves? Like, are there side effects? What are they?
Absolutely. And I'm Pastor, I'm hearing this from a lot of my families. I have so many families, I would say, that were so excited to be able to get their kids vaccinated. And now that the vaccine is here, they're kind of on pause. And they're like, well, you know what, let's just talk for a second about this. And maybe I'm just not quite ready for this. So I'm hearing this more and more. I think adults felt comfortable making the decision for themselves. But when it comes to their children, everybody gets a little squeamish. Now they feel like they're not really ready to make this decision. I mean, even in my own family, when I talk to my extended family, I have a 4-year-old niece, and I've been trying to advocate for my brother and my sister-in-law to vaccinate her, because I know that it's essential to her long-term health and well-being. But to answer your question, most parents, I would say, are used to the side effects that kids get from vaccines, especially the little group, the age 6 months to 4 years old. It's really the same thing always. It's always a little bit of soreness in the leg. It's always a little low-grade fever. It's kind of maybe a little fussiness, but it's 24 hours of these mild symptoms. And I think parents of young children are used to those side effects. So there really aren't more side effects than those they're already used to. So I try to reassure them that actually kids seem to handle this vaccine much better than many adults. I think so many of us had side effects. I know with my second round, I felt like, terrible. I was exhausted and I was achy. And with the babies, we're really not seeing that. They get it and they feel better and they're fine 24 hours later. Thankfully.
They are resilient. And
they
it's interesting. So many parents are hesitant, especially in the African-American community, about getting vaccines, with the association of, well, it's going to cause autism, or is it going to do anything like that? Can you speak to that at all, or any particular side effects that infants may have?
I think Wendy was really just sort of the ones that I just mentioned about the short-term ones. I do feel like a lot of families worry about autism and vaccines because of this study that was proven to not have any substance or any merit, but it got around enough that people started to believe it. So there's no correlation with vaccines and autism. There's no correlation with the COVID vaccine and autism. And really the side effects are mild. Soreness, fever, body aches, a little bit of fussiness. If that at all, I would say a large majority of kids are not having side effects other than the soreness after the shot.
So even with the soreness, because like I said, my mother, she, bless her heart, she's still here. She's like, take a Tylenol. Just take your Tylenol. What would you suggest to him? I'm like, Mama, I can't. You have me ODing on these Tylenols. But no, by the grace of God, I have never had COVID. So thank you, Jesus. She kept me safe, and we quarantined together for 2 years. So please, if let's say, that, God forbid that one of the infants did get it, or what would you suggest to help offset that if in case they hadn't even gotten the vaccine? But
if they get COVID? and make it without being vaccinated. Definitely in my practice, I've seen plenty of kids with COVID. I've seen plenty of little babies. I would say over the last probably 6 months, especially, we've seen more babies. I think in the beginning, so many parents kept their babies close to home. And if they could keep them out of daycare, they kept them out of daycare. And so we didn't see as much disease in the little tiny ones. But over the last year, many more parents have kept their kids in daycare and have gone back to work. And so we're definitely seeing disease in little kids. And, thankfully, most of the disease I've seen is mild. But I know that that's unpredictable. I know that you can't guarantee that just because they're young and they're healthy, that they're going to have a mild disease. And because I can't predict that, I always encourage my patients to get their kids vaccinated, to get their babies vaccinated. Because unlike in adults, healthy kids can get hospitalized from COVID and can have problems. With adults, if they have chronic disease, they're at higher risk for COVID complications. With kids, that's not true. Many of the kids who've been hospitalized and end up in the intensive care unit are healthy kids with no pre-existing illness. So I encourage families, if you can do something to prevent severe disease in your child, how could you not do it? We would do anything for our kids, right? We love our children. We would do anything we could to protect them. And so giving the vaccine is the best thing we can do to protect our children.
Now, I have a question, and maybe you can just kind of give us some suggestions here. As a pastor, I'm pretty sure other pastors would. And by the way, if you're out there, please ask your questions. Send your questions. As they used to teach us back in school, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Just go ahead and ask your question, so you can get the information. But speaking to things like, I just went to Disneyland the other week for my son's birthday. And when I tell you, I was having a panic attack the entire time.
Wow.
You're watching so many different places that are not washing things down. Hence, they're not sanitizing anything. Speak to us just a little bit, doctor, about the dangers, not particularly to Disneyland. We don't want y'all coming for nobody.
Okay, because they will, honey. That mouse will be at your house in the next 5 minutes.
I love Disneyland. I love
Disneyland. Pastor?
First of all, we love Disneyland. We love Mickey Mouse. I feel like we love you all. You all are magical. All right. Now that we got that out the way, what are some things that you can speak to, though, as children are being reacclimated to those fun activities, right? How do we keep our children safe, even though they've been vaccinated, right? Because even though you're vaccinated, if you catch COVID, you still may go through some mild symptoms. We don't want our children sick. Speak to us a little bit about, as parents, how can we still kind of bring them back outside, but at the same time, what are some things we need to really keep in mind to keep them safe from COVID that is still out there?
In this new normal. It's a new normal.
It is a new normal. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great question, Pastor. Thank you for that. It's funny. We actually went to Disney World since the pandemic happened, and I had my mask on. So magical. Absolutely. I was in Orlando. Inexpensive. And I had my mask on the entire time. And, Florida, God bless Florida, but everybody doesn't wear masks there.
Right.
And I was not taking a chance. So I wore my very well-fitting KN95 mask. So I encourage you to get masks for your kids. If you're going to be in somewhere where there's a great population of people and you don't know their vaccine status, I think it's always a good idea to be masked and to have your kids masked. It's important to make sure they're washing their hands. I think we all had to learn the very hard lesson that probably none of us have been washing our hands as much as we needed to wash our hands. Right. That's why a lot of people think this pandemic, started in the first place. So washing your hands with warm soap and water for more than 20 seconds is really key. And then, if you're sick, stay home. If you don't want to be around people that are feeling under the weather, don't expose yourself to other people and don't put them at risk. So I would say definitely mask, look for lots of well-ventilated areas, and not be around people when you're sick, and wash.
And so let me throw this out here as well, which obviously I have a lot of questions to ask because, like I said, I have children, right? So this is fresh. I don't need no manuscript. Like this fresh. Like,
this is you. This is in your heart. You feeling me? The spirit.
I feel it in my soul, right? But even when we deal with like churches opening back up, I've heard a lot of pastors that are struggling with the notion of going back to children's church. You know, we don't know what that looks like. Maybe speak to us a little bit about that. What are some suggestions, right? This is not what she's telling you to do, you know, because I want y'all to come back and telling us, Dr. Miller told me, open up my children's church, and I did it. It was a super spreader Sunday school.
Exactly.
Like,
and everybody got COVID, and where is Dr. Miller?
Yeah, where's Dr. Miller? My whole congregation, my choir couldn't even sing because they all were sick with COVID.
Pastor Fisher, you know, it was Pastor Fisher who told me.
Now you know they're gonna blame me, right? But
exactly.
But Dr. Miller, like, what are some suggestions, right? Talking to churches that may not have that air purifying system, right? They may not have those well ventilating spaces, right? Children's church may literally be still in the social hall, right? In the kitchen area. Talk to us a little bit. What are some things that can be put in place? What's up, Jeezy? I see y'all shouting me out. What's up, Greater Zion? Say what's up to me. What's going on? What are some things we could put in place to kind of help safeguard our kids and also get children's church back up and going?
Well, I think if there's any opportunity to move things outside, you know, we're in California, so we have nice weather. Everybody across the country doesn't have that luxury, but if you can do things outside, that's really great. If you can try to have a little distance between people, spread people out a little bit, make sure to really clean down surfaces as much as possible, make sure to wash kids' hands as much as possible, especially before you're eating something. If you're eating something in children's church, make sure that they're cleaning well before they're eating. You know, if you can mask, if the kids will wear it, if they're not too little. I also like masks. I think they do make a difference. I know they make a difference. I've been super blessed to not have COVID. I'm going to knock on wood, but I'm thankful. I thank God for that, is that it's been, 2 years, 3 years, and I haven't gotten COVID. So I'm blessed for that. But like Marcus says, have children's church outside. I definitely think that is key. If you can move church outside.
Great.
Wow.
Miss Wendy, we actually have some questions in the comment area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lit in this comment section.
It's lit, right? One? Okay. I'm gonna start right here. Okay. Why did officials authorize 2 doses for the Moderna and then 3 doses for the Pfizer vaccine? And I don't even know how many for Johnson & Johnson.
So Johnson & Johnson is not authorized for kids. So we're just dealing in Moderna and Pfizer. And for this purposes today, we're talking really about kids 6 months to 5 years. And so there's 2 vaccines on the market for that age group. One is the Moderna vaccine and the other is the Pfizer vaccine. The Moderna vaccine is a bigger dose. So compared to adults, it's 1/4 the amount of medicine. And the Pfizer vaccine compared to the adult dose is 1/10 the amount of medicine. So you can imagine the Pfizer dose is much smaller. Therefore, it requires 3 doses to get its intended effect. Whereas the Moderna dose, which is a little bit bigger, like I said, it's 1/4 the dose, only requires 2. So some people would say, I only want Moderna because it's 2 shots versus Pfizer, which is 3 shots. I encourage families to get whichever one they can get. Because either way, we're protecting our kids from long-term complications or death, disease and death. But they are probably pretty equivalent in terms of how well they protect our children. So I say get whichever one you can.
Yeah. And then how much time in between? I know it's different for Pfizer than it is for Moderna, but how much time in between each dose?
Right. So for Moderna, you're pretty much done with your shots in 2 months. It's one, and then it's another one a month later, and then you're covered. And the Pfizer vaccine takes place over about 11 weeks. So it takes about a little month longer to be protected from COVID than Moderna does.
Okay.
So,
Are they? Do you know if they're gonna? Oh, I was.
No.
Do you know if they're gonna go? You go. I go. Okay.
You go.
Okay. Now, do you know if they're going to offer boosters, or we haven't even gotten that far? Or
we haven't gotten that far, but I would say I've been watching this for 3 years, and just like we got boosters, I suspect they'll get boosters. And I think most of us in the medical profession think that we're going to continue to get boosters for years to come. Wow. And hope that we can get flu shots and COVID vaccines all together in one, so we don't have to get 2 shots every year. Wow. But we'll see. No one really knows how long it's going to be around that we have to do something about it. But I would hazard a guess that yes, we are going to have to get boosters.
Okay. And shout out to my childhood friend, Pat Moore from the hood. Hey, girl. But she just said, can you mix the vaccines?
So Yes, I think probably you will be able to. I think it's a little confusing between Pfizer and Moderna. So I think most of us are going to try to have families stay within one. So at least for the first round, the primary series, get either your 2 Moderna or either your 3 Pfizer. After that, when you're getting boosters, I think like they did for adults, they'll find out that you can mix and match.
Wow.
You know, that was actually going to be my question, because I'm going to tell you something. You know, I talked to some of my Caucasian friends, and they don't understand the culture behind that question about mixing. I was like, Black folks don't mix nothing.
Nothing.
I like my food separate. My best friend says I don't want my peas to touch my meat.
You don't mix light and dark. And that's what I heard. I don't know nothing about that. That's what I heard. I heard you don't mix light and dark. That's what I heard.
No, we not cutting nothing.
Right, we ain't doing none of that, you know. But another question, which I know may sound redundant, but this is a specific question of those that are getting ready to go into that whole preteen, right? Does the vaccine, if anything, I kind of know the answer of it, but I want you to say it, because I'm Dr. Fisher when it comes to theology, not to this. But does the vaccine have any side effects that affects them when it comes to puberty, adolescence? Like hormone, does it increase anything hormonally? Does it stunt their growth? Because you know African Americans think everything stunts growth. So
I cannot with you.
God bless my people, but yes,
my Lord, it was the vaccine back in.
I can't tell you. People ask me that all the time. I have cousins across the country who are texting me asking could they get their tween daughter vaccinated because they didn't want to affect her fertility. Wow. I hear a lot of people worried about fertility and about puberty. And I think this comes from, well, a couple of things. I have moms that have said to me, well, my period is super regular and I got the vaccine and now it was irregular. So I can't give it to my daughter because I don't want anything to happen to her. Wow. There's no data, no research, no nothing to support that it affects puberty, hormones, fertility, anything, nothing. It's all just people talking. So I would say it is safe. Please give your teenage girls this. It's not going to make them sterile. It's not going to affect their fertility. It's not going to stunt their growth. It's going to keep them healthier and prevent them from getting COVID and being really sick, being hospitalized.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because, believe it or not, I got my my vaccination from CVS. So, we're talking about accessibility and, equitable and, having it available for everyone. Where do you recommend parents taking their children, especially their infants, even if they don't have health care?
So so I'll tell you that pharmacies can only vaccinate down to age 3. Is what I've recently learned. I would encourage families, especially of infants and toddlers, to check with your primary care physician, your pediatrician, your family medicine doctor. For people that don't have insurance, you can often go to community clinics or public health departments to get vaccinated. It is important to know that the vaccine is free, does not cost anything. You do not have to pay for it. You do not have to have insurance. They do not check your immigration status. So none of that is relevant. Anyone that wants to get it can get it. Like the banner says at the bottom, actually, myturn.ca.gov. Thank you. They're right on time for that, Phineas. I appreciate you. So you can visit the website, or you can call that phone number on the banner. Or if you already have a pediatrician, come see your pediatrician. And what I would want to say is talk to your pediatricians. I am talking to patients all day long about this vaccine, and I'm trying to allay the concerns that my families have, and I'm trying to make them feel better about getting the vaccine for their child. So talk to your doctors, talk to your friends that are doctors, talk to everybody that you know that are in the medical profession, and listen to the science, not what you see on social media that is not based in science and reality.
Yeah. Now that's big.
I'm getting Crystal Jones. Crystal Jones is like, we got the flu shot and the measles and the chickenpox vaccines. We got shingles vaccines. We got everything. So why is the COVID different? And people are so afraid. And I'm curious, is it because of what others are saying?
So I think Crystal's asking, why are people why are people reacting to COVID? What I would say, Crystal, is that they're afraid. It's unknown. And I try to tell families, like, it's okay to be afraid of the unknown. I think we as people, we know what measles are. We know what chicken pox is. We feel like we're comfortable with those things. But COVID is still a black box to a lot of people. And COVID, people don't know where it came from. They don't know what it's going to look like 5 years from now. They're afraid of it. And I'd say that being a parent makes you even more afraid, because you've been entrusted with this being that depends on you for everything. And I find that parents who are never concerned about what they put into their body, when it comes to making decisions for their child, all of a sudden, they put the brakes on and they're like, I can't do this because I don't know that this is going to be good for them. I don't know that they're not going to have problems 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So I think, Crystal, it's because of the fear of the unknown. And so I would say ask questions and talk to the people you know and you trust, your doctors and your primary care people, your primary care providers, and ask the questions, because it is scary. And I think it's okay to say to families, I try to say to families, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be afraid of the unknown. It's okay to be scared, but we know that we can prevent serious complications. So if we know that, like I said, if you're a parent and you can protect your child, aren't you going to do everything you can to protect your child? Even if you're afraid, you're going to protect them.
Very well said.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk to you, Pastor.
No, that was really good. One of the things, it's not really a question. I just wanted to put a plug there about when she said, and here we are giving these human beings, they're so vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And so while your stance may be one way when it comes to you and how it affects you, you have to think from a whole nother lens, though, when you are the one that has to take care of someone that really can't speak for themselves. Right. And they're given to you by God, and God is trusting you to make the decisions to make sure that they are safeguarded so they get to the adult age to make decisions for themselves, right? Wow. I want to ask this question, just kind of going back as summer activities, and you mentioned winter is coming, right? And so let's speak to that a little bit. In a minute, we're going to come out of summer and we're going to go into school. Schools are opening back up. Preschool, there's a lot of parents that are concerned about, do they send their child to preschool? Do they continue to keep them home? What would you say to that? If they do send them to preschool, what are some measures that you would maybe suggest to a parent to look for as they're selecting a preschool, a daycare? What are some measures that they should take, as they should still send them so they can gain those social skills? As a pediatrician, speak to us a little bit about that, because that is a heavy question. Again, 4-year-old, it's time for him to go to somebody's school, right? So
he needs to get out of your house, right? He's got to go somewhere,
right?
He's got to go.
And they're not wearing these masks.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
Exactly. So speak to us about that, and then maybe this is a good time. Long answer. So if you forget the second part, I got you.
I know, right?
But maybe speak to also, like, what do we tell our children in preparing them to go to school? And they walk up to Johnny, who's just like, "Hat you, all right, hey," because that exists. Talk to us a little bit about that,
Johnny.
For sure,
Johnny gonna have a problem if that's my child.
Oh wow, you ask a lot. So yes, winter is coming. I think the kids have to be back in school. They absolutely have to. The adolescents need to be back in school. The little kids need to be back in school. Everybody needs to be back in school. They need to be back in school for their parents, right? Because their parents need to be able to work. And they need to be back in school for the kids. I can't tell you how many kids we sort of call pandemic babies, because you can't come in the room and touch them because they're afraid of you, because they haven't seen anybody but their parents, for the last 2 years. And so they don't even know how to be around other people. So, like Pastor said, the kids need to have social skills. They need to meet each other and learn how to be around each other. They need to know, and same for the middle school and the high school, they need to learn how to be with their friends again. I think we saw so much anxiety and so much depression in these young people because their lives were put on pause. They couldn't make their developmental stages. They couldn't go to their proms and their graduations and their high school dances or their middle school dances. They were sort of stunted in a lot of ways. And I think we're going to see those effects for years to come. So I think they definitely have to go to school. Now, how do they go to school in a safe way? Well, one way is vaccinating them. I think vaccination should give parents a more reassurance that their kids are going to be safe. I think it's going to let kids feel more comfortable to know that it's, because I think kids were scared too. They're watching TV and everything says you got COVID, you can't go out, you can't talk to anybody. And so now kids won't have to be as afraid because they're getting the vaccine to be protected. So many kids, when they come in my office, are like, yay, we're getting the COVID vaccine. It's the first vaccine that kids have been excited to get, which is a change for me because usually they're crying because they don't want vaccines. But they know that this means that their lives can open back up in so many ways. So go to school, wear the mask if you can. Make sure the school is cleaning as much as it can. Make sure the school is testing frequently. I think myself and some of my colleagues have asked the questions, when are we going to stop testing? Because everybody's getting it, across the board. And at what point do we cross the line and say, you know what, we don't need testing more because everyone's getting it. And so I think some of us talk about that, like we wonder what that looks like. But, I would say clean, test, masks. You can't be outside because it's going to start getting cold. And then what was the second part of the question?
You pretty much did it.
Okay, I did it all. I did it all. Okay.
You're good. You're real good.
You're good.
Yeah, I do want to ask this, and this is Vita Brown. I hope I'm saying your name right. Yes. How many vaccines are given to children prior to turning 1 year old? And, do they clash?
So they definitely do not clash. Thanks for that question, Vita. It's safe to give the COVID vaccine with any other vaccination. We're seeing that the kids don't have more side effects if they get it with other shots. As we give it to preteens and teenagers, I know when my daughter got hers, she was getting the HPV vaccine at the same time. So we know that it is safe to mix COVID vaccines with other vaccines. How many do they get? They get a lot. If you really want me to count, they do get a lot.
Really?
They get a lot in their first year of life. I mean, there's a couple of main series of vaccines: the tetanus shot, the pneumococcal shot, the Hib shot, hepatitis B. Those are the primary shots the kids get in the first year of life, and they all have multiple doses of them. So it's true, the kids in the first year get a lot of shots. But we know that we're protecting them again from those illnesses and infections that we don't see anymore because we give those vaccines. So they're essential, and it's really nice that we can give these vaccines at the same time. So when 6-month-old patients come in for their normal 6-month-old visit to get their 6-month shots, they can get the COVID vaccine as well. So the parents don't have to make an additional visit for the little babies because they're here all the time anyway.
Wow.
And so, also, I know that this is like a hard question, just your opinion on this. But we know that there's so many people out there that just don't trust medicine, right? And they're always, in our community, there is this still narrative that they experiment on us, they test on us, and it's like, I don't want nobody testing on my baby. So I don't want to bypass those questions. So for the sake of the ones that are out there struggling with that thought, people that know me know Fisher gonna ask the hard question. Speak to us a little bit about that narrative, right? I'm talking about the whole Tuskegee, all of that, right? Things that we know we've been through, but talk to us about the progression of medicine, and particularly when we start seeing, our own in these seats. You are a pediatrician, you are a Black woman, you're a woman of color, right? Talk to us about how medicine has come to a place where it is conscious about all people. Like, can you speak to that and maybe kind of bring down somebody's nerve that may be like, I don't trust medicine. People dying in the hospital every day. They still call it King Hospital, Killer King.
Killer King.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I hated that when my mama was there. Ooh.
I know.
Talk to us a little bit about it. Talk to us about it, if there's been any improvements.
So just to say, it's not Killer King. I hated hearing that as well. I went to medical school there, so I'm a proud graduate of Charles Drew University of Medicine and Science, the Drew UCLA program. But I will say that, those are very valid concerns. I think the African-American community, is justified, obviously, in the suspicion of the medical profession, following the Tuskegee experiment. And I know that's why a lot of people were hesitant in the beginning and wanted to wait and see. And many families still tell me they want to wait and see. I think that we in the medical profession know that it exists, especially physicians of color. And I think we try to speak to parents about that. I mean, I guess what I would say to my families is that I always try to meet them where they are and find out how I can help move them closer. So I always want to know, what are you afraid of? I've tried to ask people more and more, what's keeping you from getting the vaccine? What can I tell you about it? What can I help make you comfortable about? I think there's much more research in communities of color now. I think all the research used to be on, just Caucasian and white patients, and not really Latino patients or Asian patients or Southeast Asian patients or African American patients. So there's much more research on the communities, different communities, all ethnic groups, because we know that America is a melting pot and that we're all part of it. And it's not just about how the white patient does. And I encourage my families to get vaccinated, that I got vaccinated, that I vaccinated my child who has immunocompromise, and I vaccinated my mother and my 95-year-old grandmother that lives with me. I vaccinated her. And so I use that to try to help my patients and my families understand why it's important for them.
Let me tell you why I rock with you. Let me tell you why I rock with you, Dr. Miller. Let me tell you why I rock with you from Compton. Let me tell you why I rock with you. Because you did not go around that question. I rock with you. I rock with you saying it's justified, the concerns, the reserves.
You walking in our shoes. You know what I mean? I really feel, and that's what we need more than anything, to ask the questions and to know that they're going to be answered from someone who is not only like us, but is from that elk. So I appreciate that transparency.
Absolutely. Well, our time is actually up. Y'all won't even believe it went that fast. But that was fast, right? but before we go, I do want to ask you, Dr. Miller, to give any final remarks. Then I'm gonna come and ask Miss Wendy about this organization she got. But Dr. Miller.
I don't know. I feel like I've done all the talking. I feel like I'm the only one talking now. I would just say, talk to your providers, talk to your healthcare providers, get your babies vaccinated, get your children vaccinated, get yourselves vaccinated if you're still holding back. I hope that you heard something today that makes you ask the questions and makes you vaccinate yourself and your loved ones, because protecting your children protects our whole community. And that's what we need to do. The vaccines are safe and free and they work. So please vaccinate your children.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so very much. Miss Wendy, talk to us a little bit about this Amazing Grace.
Well, you better sing. You better sing. Wow. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for your comments, your questions, and just for chiming in and, just having a stake and a horse in the race. And 25 years ago, I started Amazing Grace Conservatory with my best friend and I, two struggling artists. All we had was passion and purpose, and we put our heads and our hearts together, and here we are now. And we teach acting, voice, dance, spoken word, media arts. But more than that, these young people, for me, they are coming out of COVID. It's not COVID, it's the aftermath. And Dr. Miller, you talked about it briefly. I've seen firsthand, I've seen depression, I've seen suicidal thoughts where they were talking about, I want suicide, like give me a number 9 and some fries. So for me, we are, I don't want to say a ministry, but we are a place where they can just come and just be and be loved and see themselves in an environment that is just so, it is there for them to just be freely and fully expressed. So that is Amazing Grace Conservatory. And we're currently in our summer program right now. It's a 7-week program, and that will culminate August 7th. And then we're year round, and we start right back up in the fall. And this is the last shameless plug, last one. We are doing an arts festival. It's the Sugar Hill. It's called the Thrill of Sugar Hill. And I don't know how many of you all know about this, but the Sugar Hill area of LA is where Hattie McDaniel, Ray Charles, Little Richard, Lena Horne, Dorothy Dandridge, they all lived in the West Adams district. And around the 1950s, they built that 10 freeway to move all of the Blacks out pretty much. And that's where the Fair Housing Act is. So we got a grant. We're having a huge festival. It's an edutainment festival, July 16th. That's a Saturday from 12 to 6. We got entertainers, we got vendors, we got food. I want everybody to come out. It's free. We're going to have a good time. We're going to celebrate our culture, but it's a party with a purpose. And come on out and hang with us and learn something new, not only about that, but we're also going to be working with Providence Medical and, talking about COVID, talking about, just moving forward. I know that was a lot. Sorry, but please go to amazinggraceconservatory.org and get your life and support. We're a nonprofit organization. So thank you for that, Pastor. That's a lot.
Listen,
I know it's a lot. You got me all one.
Listen, there's a couple of things I need to say. Number one, Greater Zion is going to donate to it. Number two, I got to make sure that our young people, I got to put it on the calendar that my staff is about to kill me. I got to put that on my calendar and have our young people there. I think that would be amazing. Our church is heavy in the arts. Where our kids are heavy in the arts. So Dana Farmer, who's over our children's ministry, is watching this right now. I know that she will make sure that she gets these kids there. We'll make it happen for sure. Thank you so much for the work you do. I just have to say this to you, the both of you all, you all are carrying it. To you, Dr. Miller, thank you for your sacrifices that no one knows about, for you to be able to be where you are now. Thank you for how you're caring for our children physically. Jesus said, suffer the children to come unto me. And he said to us that before you mess with a child, tie a rope around you, tie a rope around a stone, and jump off a cliff. That's in the text. That's in the Bible. And that means that that's how serious God is about us protecting and watching out for our kids. So what you do is as godly and divine as what I do standing behind the pulpit. And I just want to tell you, thank you for that. To you, Miss Wendy, listen, that everything you just said right now, I love how you have taken your platform and, you teaching us how to take the platform God gives you and to reach back. Luke chapter 22, verse 31 through 32 says, reach back and strengthen thy brethren. And so, you're showing us that the least of these are the greatest. And I appreciate everything that you are doing. Oh, there, she's in the chat. Put her on the screen.
Dana Farmer.
My members be obedient. They're like, yes, Pastor. I'm
That's
here,
right.
Pastor. I'm ready
Call
for
me.
Wendy.
I'm gonna get you the information, honey. We gotta get the children out. No, seriously, it's life changing. No, and thank you for that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it is life changing. And now we got to get in the trenches.
Exactly.
We got to get in the trenches with our young people because we are in a crisis.
Absolutely.
When I say that 2 years of isolation, woo, it's got our babies feeling all kinds of ways. So check in with not just the kids, but check in with even our strong people. I'm sorry, Pastor, but I would be remiss if I didn't use this opportunity to talk about that. And I'm really seeing it with my tweens at 12, 14. The light just gone, it's whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not.
That's right. And that's a perfect segue to, not only make sure my daddy used to say all the time, you need a good doctor, you need a good social club to go to, you need a good lawyer, you need a good preacher. So after you've gone to Dr. Miller to get your medicine, you've gone to Miss Wendy to make sure you dance, got into the arts, you need to come see me on Sunday at 9:30 a.m.
Amen.
Amen. While we feed your spirit and remind you of who you really are according to the Almighty Creator, right? God Almighty. And for more information for that, you can go to gzcfamily.com. And that is gzcfamily.com to see our service times. Like I said, every single Sunday, right here at 2408 North Wilmington Avenue, Compton, California, right here in the CPT. And then also, if you have any kids that need to find a pipeline between high school and the college of their choice, please make sure you get in touch with our nonprofit, our other CDC, which is the JT CDC, Community Development Corporation. And you can go onto their website as well at the jtcdc.com. And then lastly, if anyone is out there and you're trying to brand yourself, send me an email at thefisherbrand at gmail.com, thefisherbrand@gmail.com. And I'm really working with young people. It came out of working with young people. We have a Young Visionaries program. Okay, we're done. We have a Young Visionary program where we use all summer mentoring young men. And I took a whole summer teaching them how to take their idea and how to be able to make it where it's attractive to many. And from there, we have those that are now in culinary arts. So any way I can help your company, any way I can help you speak to kids, just reach out to thefisherbrand@gmail.com. And other than that, listen, we got to give another shout out to Lisa Collins. Y'all already know what LA Focus. She is the mediator. Listen, Jesus is the mediator between us and the Father, and she's the mediator between the community and all things media, right?
Okay.
And so LA Focus.
She's the interlocular.
All of it. LA Focus. Thank you, Lisa Collins. And
Thank you.
Again, a great big shout out to California Department of Public Health and Vaccinate All 58. This was a great evening. Thank you, Miss Wendy, for hanging out with me.
It really was.
It was
you
wonderful.
Guys follow us on our social medias so we can give our handles. Mine is real easy. It's I am Wendy Raquel, because you ain't. No, I'm teasing. But no, I am Wendy Raquel, RAQUEL.
Yeah, I love that. And then mine is Michael J.T. Fisher. Facebook, Instagram, Michael J.T. Fisher on Instagram. Follow me. I run my page, so I will talk to you. All right. And the doctor, we're going to make sure we hook her up.
How can we keep in touch with you, doctor?
As it currently stands, I don't have a handle, but I'm going to work on that for the next panel. Next time I'm going to have one. But I'm at East Bay Pediatrics. Someone asked me if I practice in Los Angeles, and I don't. I'm sorry. I'm from LA, but I live in the Bay Area. So eastbaypediatrics.com. You can find me at jennifer.miller@eastbaypediatrics.com. And next time, I promise I'll have a social media handle.
You're not missing nothing.
I know. That's why I don't have one. I'm afraid. I don't want to hear all that they have to say.
Right, but it's all good. Thank you all so very much for joining us. We love y'all so much. Be safe, and listen, and all that's going on out there, I want you guys to forsake fear and get a shot of faith. We are out of here.
Boom. Boom.